Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Town Council meeting. It is Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2016, and it is 6 o'clock. For those of you who are visiting the council chambers for the first time tonight, we have agendas up on the wall, and if you have a cell phone, we please ask you to turn it off. And tonight's meeting is being broadcast live on Channel 28, and it's also web streaming live on the town's website. Can we have roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Durham?
Here.
Councilmember Dorenbecker?
Here.
Vice Mayor Moeller?
Here. Just a housekeeping rule before we get started. Since we only have 3 council members here tonight, any vote that we take must be unanimous. Is that correct for it to pass?
So that is true for resolutions, ordinances, and anything having to do with money. And for other things on here, to the extent it comes up, like an appointment or like, it can be done by a quorum of the 3 of you.
Okay, great, thank you. Do we, can we do everything by a voice vote tonight? We don't need to do any roll call vote for like the public hearings?
It does have to do with an ordinance, so a roll call vote would be best.
Would be best for both of the public hearings. Okay, thank you. And now if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we'd like to adopt tonight's agenda. Are there any changes, or can I have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. And now for a proclamation and recognition of our previous town attorney, Mike Cobden, who couldn't be with us tonight. Let me come down, and could Gary meet me at the podium?
Sure.
Thank you for being here tonight, and we have a etched bottle of wine for your predecessor, Mike Cobden, and I told him that I'd give it to you, and it's his job to get it from you. So if you could give that to him, and we also have his plate, his nameplate, and a recognition form. And just please tell him for all of the town staff and the town council that we really appreciate everything he did, all his legal advice, and all his help with the ordinances and resolutions, and all of his service to the town. And we really wish him a great new job and move to Southern California, and thank him for the seamless transition, and a big welcome to you as our new town attorney, and we look forward to having you around a long time. Thanks. Any other comments from the council that you'd like to send Mike's way?
Sure. Please just tell him that we really enjoyed working with him. He did a wonderful job for our town, and we hope that Santa Monica appreciates our sacrifice.
I certainly will. He sends his regrets, and he truly enjoyed his time here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's fine.
Now, public comment. Public comment is on any matter that is not listed on tonight's agenda.
Hi there. My name is Tricia. I'm Lincoln Theater, the way, and it's a quasi question related to something on the agenda, but it's not on the agenda. I just noticed that the TIE expenditure plan is listed here, and I noticed in the attachments that there was a meeting on the 18th, I believe it was, and some funds awarded. And the theater very much appreciates the support that we've gotten in the past from the TAD board and the town. And I'm just wondering how we go about finding out when these meetings are happening and be part of this process going forward. And just hoping that there's some insights there that we could get.
Briefly, the first thing would be to confirm that you're on the email list and the request stop. And then secondly, the body, the TID governing body, not the town, actually makes the decisions on the expenditure plan. The town is the fiduciary agent, so the action tonight is a perfunctory because the money is not the town's. We are responsible for administering it in accordance with the direction given by the governing body. What I will share, and it's something I've communicated to you in an email before and today, that particular body is changing their policy with regards to grants. So right now they're sort of in a spot where they're stopping all of the grants at this point in time. So there isn't any great feedback I can give you as to what they're looking for. So we'll have to follow up on the communications that we've had already and see where we can do. But
Are those meetings Brannock meetings where they're posted somewhere or they're trying to?
they are. But the thing is, the best thing is to get on their email list because they don't happen with the same frequency. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just make sure.
If there's a website or something that I should just check periodically.
Nope.
Posting.
No, it's again, they're posted there, and they don't have a standing meeting, so it's as necessary for them to conduct their business.
Okay, yeah, just trying to figure out how to find out when those are and get around to it. Thanks very much. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank-
Anybody else wishing to speak during open public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have items A through G. Would anybody
I'll
like any
move.
changes or make a motion?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. Presentations, we have no presentations tonight, but now we'll move to our two public hearings. The first public hearing is on the municipal code section regarding noise control. Do we have a staff report?
Great. Good evening. So before you tonight is another draft of the of Ordinance 16451, which would amend Yountville Municipal Code Section 8.4, which monitors noise control regulations. And to be brief, the council has had several public hearings regarding this ordinance, as well as the Zoning and Design and Review Board. At the most recent meeting of July 19th, the town council saw a draft of the ordinance that reflected a change on the permitted hours for construction or demolition noise and landscaping tools and equipment noise. The result of that July 19th meeting was that whether it's construction or demolition or landscaping tools and equipment, the permitted hours are now 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday for a contracted service, and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for property owners and tenants 7 days a week. It was also noted there at the meeting that contracted service will also be permitted on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the condition that a property owner or a tenant be present. And so those changes are now reflected and shown on the draft ordinance for you today for approval. In addition to those modifications to the permitted hours, there's also now a definition for contracted service that's there on the ordinance as well. So with that, staff is here to answer questions, and it's staff's recommendation that this ordinance be approved.
Any questions
Got
for
one.
staff?
I just want to clarify, Nathan, that we're not saying that on the weekends that
or during the weekdays, the contracted services can't happen before or after. It's part of the noise ordinance.
Correct. So it's noise generated from a contracted service, not necessarily a contract service itself. You can pay someone to walk quietly in your yard.
Thank you.
Okay.
No questions.
Questions? Okay, now I'd like to open the public hearing. We could take any comments from the public. Nobody wants, there's no noise in the room, so I guess we don't have any, comments from the public. So I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion.
As we discussed at the last meeting, I mean, this fits into everything that we've asked of the staff, and we appreciate the additional definition, so it's clear for everyone. So thank you. Thank you. You've started off on good.
Make a motion?
Very good.
I'd like to make one comment, and then I'll entertain that motion. I'd just like to ask staff that, see if we could perhaps get a 6-month follow-up on this, because first of all, it's new for all of our businesses, and I think there needs to be some outreach to let them know that we'll be making some changes, and you might, I'd like to hear how well that's going and any feedback that they may have for us in 6 months. Is that?
Well, I think you make two very good points. One is the need for outreach because we have change, and therefore we do need to communicate. So I think we will work and put some of our bilingual staff together to be working on a handout that can be geared towards some of the landscaping services and contractors. We can do a targeted newsletter to the business community because they need to be aware of the 9 o'clock start. We'll certainly put some information on our website, do some general outreach through our normal channels. Also going to say that this is going to need to be a more than one-time outreach, because it's going to be something new whenever that person first experiences it. So we're going to have to work on, I think, a more extensive and periodic reminder to the community. And then secondly, we'll also work with the deputies for weekend enforcement so that they're aware, focus on education and compliance. And then I think in 6 months we can come back and share with you what are some of the feedback that we hear from the community.
Okay, great. Now,
All right.
I'd like to have a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance number 16-451.
Can we clarify that it's an introduction and waive the reading?
Introduction and waive the reading of ordinance number 16-451, an ordinance of the Town of Yountville amending the Yountville Municipal Code, Title 8, Chapter 8.04, Noise Control Regulations.
Oh, sorry, a second.
Great.
Thank you.
And can we get the town clerk to do a roll call vote?
Yes, Councilmember Dornbecker,
Aye.
Councilmember Durham,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moeller.
Aye.
Thank you.
That passes unanimously. To our second public hearing tonight on the amending the Yountville Municipal Code to add a new chapter regarding water efficient landscaping. And a staff report.
Right.
Looks like Sandra's moving to the microphone.
Good evening. Tonight you have before you a water efficient landscape ordinance. It would be a local ordinance for Yountville, and it's modeled after the state model water efficient landscape ordinance, the most recent version of which went into effect in December of 2015. And that ordinance has applied in Yountville by default, since the town did not take action to adopt its own ordinance. But we are required to come back before the town council with a local ordinance, and that's what's before you tonight. The ordinance applies to new construction projects of 500 square feet or greater, or rehabilitated landscapes of 2,500 square feet or greater. And when it applies, it requires water efficient irrigation and landscaping. And included within the guidelines are several forms and worksheets to be used when the ordinance applies. And there is an alternative compliance option available for projects 2,500 square feet or less and in addition for those that use captured rainwater or gray water. So there are two different ways it can be processed as shown in the guidelines. How the ordinance works is that it applies a maximum water allowance to a property, and that's based on size and evapotranspiration rates in the zone that we are in, and establishes that maximum water use permitted. Plants can be grouped into different hydro zones and irrigated to conserve water. Some other interesting elements of the ordinance are that it precludes the use of high water use plants in street medians, including turf, prohibits overhead spray for areas that are less than 10 feet wide, and that they be set back 24 inches from sidewalk, and requires weather-based or other smart irrigation systems. So when the ordinance applies, the landscape documentation package is required, and that includes the worksheets as well as landscape and irrigation design plans. In Yountville, it will have limited application based on the triggering sizes. It will be a rare residential yard that's 2,500 square feet or larger. But for new residential projects of 500 square feet, which we see from time to time in Old Town, it would apply. So the ordinance is before you for introduction and first reading. We're also presenting a resolution that includes the guidelines, and that explains more of the specific parameters of the program. Thank you.
Thank you for that staff report. Any questions from
Just
council?
one other thing I want to share with the council and the public. This also applies to all public projects. So, for example, we set a good example, as you know, with our own landscaping, but we will be triggered by our own, and we would design the upcoming project later on tonight's agenda, but the renovation of the Veterans Memorial Park is also subject to these guidelines. So I just wanted to clarify that, because sometimes the public thinks that we adopt rules that don't apply to local government, and in this case we've actually been very proactive about applying the WELO standards, in some cases even before we were mandated to do so. And we'll be sharing with you later a more comprehensive report, but I think you will see some of our continuing efforts with drought-tolerant landscaping and reduction have had a positive impact on water consumption, and also generally a positive impact in the environment. So just something to footnote, because you do have an item. Your next item will have a big project.
Any questions from council of staff?
No.
No.
Okay, great. So I'd like to, this is our second public hearing, so now I could open the public hearing for any comments. Again, seeing nobody step forward, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion, decisions.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah. Please, I'm
Any
I'm
more
done.
discussion?
No, I think this is, it's always good to follow state law. We need to do that, right? We have our attorney shaking his head. So I think it's, we have an ordinance and a resolution.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would like to waive the reading and approve ordinance number 16-452, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Yountville, amending the Yountville Municipal Code, Title 17 zoning, to add Chapter 17.94, water efficient landscaping, in order to comply with the State of California Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance.
And so since this is an ordinance, we'll need a roll call vote from the town clerk.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Now we do.
Okay, Councilmember Durham,
Aye.
Councilmember Dornbecker,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moeller.
Aye. That passes unanimously. And now we have a resolution which a voice vote will work for.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 16-3362 to adopting water efficient landscape guidelines.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. All right, moving on to administrative items. We have an item, and here it comes, Ms. Cagwin, just in time to discuss the Veterans Memorial Park renovations. We have a staff report from, I see Joe shaking his head, so.
I am ready. Tonight
Okay.
we have for your consideration, adoption and approval of the plans and specs, authorizing staff to advertise for construction bids for the Veterans Memorial Park renovation plan. So you all have seen some iteration of this plan on at least 3 occasions. This is actually our 5th or 6th version of a public meeting on this park project. So we are very proud of what we're presenting tonight. It has been it has been a team effort to produce what we have for you this evening, including members of the Vets Home, as we will talk about later this evening, and a member of the California Department of Veterans Affairs architectural staff. So we have been very thorough. We think what we have here represents the veterans in a way that this park and many parks do not, and we are interested and excited to present and we will entertain feedback, and then we have some slides this evening to help illustrate what we have accomplished this evening. So, going to the slideshow. The first slide shows you the illustrative view of what the park will look like. We did this as an effort to try to provide for those of us who don't read plans and specs as a normal part of our work, an ability to kind of see what Lori Cagwin, our landscape architect, sees in her mind's eye when she goes to design. So the first few things that you'll notice on this drawing are the 2 flags, poles. As you know, and as we discussed in one of our earlier meetings, in one of our very early conversations, there was a comment from one of the veterans here at a meeting, who mentioned that the flagpoles should be in a place that would be more appropriate for the Veterans Park. We did, at that time, then contact a senior architect at the California Department of Veterans Affairs, Mr. Jack Straggle, and he helped us make the decision to place the flagpoles at what they describe as a superior placement, which in our case is at the front of the park. So we had an option, several options, and these are the options we came up with, which is to have the American flag with the MIA flag directly below it on the left-hand side, and then your California flag on the right-hand side. Also in this walkway at the entrance, we're going to have a flagstone that has an inscription on it that commemorates the veterans and what they have done to help us defend our country's freedom, and we will see a slide of that coming up as well. This really is just to kind of illustrate the color palette, the red, white, and blue flowers and trees that Ms. Cagwin has selected to help kind of continue that theme that we're going to discuss this evening on the veterans. Next slide, please. So the next slide will give you a plan view of the park and some of the features. So in our last meeting with you, we were given direction to go out and really kind of think about ways that we could more nearly make this a representation of a veterans park. So as a staff, we got together and brainstormed, and we also then engaged Mr. Straggle once again to help us kind of decide what was appropriate and what was allowable in the context of a veterans park. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, in the center, there's an interpretive panel that is being worked on by Vice Mayor Moeller. That interpretive panel will be a history of Veterans Park and kind of how the town and the Veterans Park have come to be partners in this park, certainly, and in the greater sense, become members of our town and us members of their community as well. If you look up on the upper right-hand side, there is a art pad that we would like to offer the plan offers as a veterans-specific and veterans-commissioned art piece. We're going to work with the Arts Commission to assemble a committee that will go out and have a call for artists to design a veterans, or hopefully be designed by a veteran that would then occupy that space. The budget for that is tentatively around $20,000 at this point. And we think that that's a pretty substantial piece, and the Arts Commission and Samantha Holland, our Parks and Rec Director, is confident that that will provide enough incentive for us to be able to get some veterans and some veteran-specific art in that space. We have had several attempts to get veterans involved. However, we think that this idea will be much more successful than attempts in the past because of the amount of money that we're going to offer as a commission piece. Next slide, please.
Shoot, sorry.
It's all right.
One more.
So if you look at the center of the drawing here, this was that star that we have been working on over several different iterations. Again, kind of we have all decided that the star is appropriate. The Department of Veterans Affairs architect, Mr. Stragel, has certainly agreed with us that it's appropriate to have that kind of a symbol in the center of a veterans park. He intimated that there were several parks who have that type of symbol, and there is no disrespect or dishonor at all in any part of that a symbol being placed where it's at. In the outside edges of that symbol, you'll notice that there are other features, and that feature is a medallion, each of which is representing the the branches of the service, so Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. There were two different versions of this design offered, one of which has a star, next slide, and one of which was just a medallion. So at a meeting with the Veterans Home and their advisory council, we had them vote on that, one of those two options, and they voted on the second option, the one that just was the symbol without the star on the outside edges. So we then decided to have that as the item that we're going to use for the design, and we're bringing that forward tonight as a design element. The other item that we discussed was the inscription in the sidewalk at the entrance. So that inscription is going to be similar to what you would see at Vandeleur Park in the sidewalk, and it's going to have words that reflect our honoring the veterans, and then the dates that the services were created. So the inception dates of each branch of service, and we think that's a great way to honor them. And it's kind of a theme, at least in this town, in one park in particular. So we're carrying that theme through. Next slide, please. Again, that's a bigger example of those brass medallions. They really are beautiful, and I think it's going to be a nice feature for the center of the park. It's going to allow the Parks and Recs Department to continue to do better and different types of programming than they have been in the past, and still be able to honor the veterans. Next slide, please. This is that inscription in the sidewalk at the entrance. I think one of the comments that we had early on was that we should avoid those really bright yellow handicap high-vis dome, tactile domes that we see in a lot of communities, and in this community as well. Rest assured that tactile dome will be somewhat either gray, white, or some other color that is not yellow, so as to not take away from that inscription or any part of that park and the design that Mrs. Cagwin has worked so hard on. Next slide, please. This is an example of the Sire stone wall. So what we're trying to do in this set of slides is kind of give you an idea of what some of the design elements look like, and when we say Sire stone, this is the type of stone and the type of wall that our landscape architect was talking about. It's a local stone from a local quarry, and once you recognize it, you'll notice that it's in a lot of buildings here in this town and around the valley as well. So that was just an idea to just to give you guys an idea of what type of stone and the type of building material that we plan on using in this project. Next slide, please. What we have here is a slide with the plant materials that are planned on being used, and they are all drought-tolerant species. And as we've mentioned in many of our conversations about drought-tolerant species, the one thing that I find continually surprising about drought-tolerant species is how vibrant the colors are. And these choices that Ms. Cagwin has chosen are no different. The red, white, and blue themes and some purple or lavender are continue throughout the park and her design, and we think it's a great way to continue the theme of honoring the veterans and just kind of put an exclamation point on the project as a whole. This is the interpretive panel that we discussed earlier. So its location is set here, but we're going to really kind of make a decision based on where we think it's best at the time of Parks and Rec Director Holland and the staff are going to try to help figure out, along with Vice Mayor Moeller, where that interpretive panel might best set. But for now, it seems like a good location, and we think it's a great part of the project to help explain, number one, how the Veterans Memorial Park became a part of our community, and to just give visitors and residents alike a little bit more information on our tie to the Veterans Home and their tie to our community. Next slide, please. This was about the Vietnam's patriotic themed sculpture. So as I discussed earlier, this art pad will be on the upper right-hand side of the park, and it will be commissioned via the Art Commission using a committee assembled for this purpose with a budget of $20,000 to help with the call for art pieces. We are very excited about this, and we have no idea what that art's going to look like, but the possibilities are endless, and we think, again, it's going to be a nice feature in this park. One of the last ideas that we have come up with is, as you all know, we have the banners that we hang from, and lights that we hang from a lot of the street lights here in town, and we think that that banner arm feature is a great way to hang some veteran-specific banners from the park and kind of really make it feel festive and patriotic at the same time, using some infrastructure that we need in the park and making available an additional feature to just kind of continue that accent. These are examples of some of the lawn picnic tables and ADA accessible furniture that we are planning on using in the park. As you notice, they are a more traditional style, heavy timber, and kind of what we're used to seeing, and keep that rural kind of feeling that our residents and people who visit here really kind of identify with our town. We will have a drinking fountain as we do now. However, it will have the bottle filler feature. Wow, that's a tongue twister. That most people in town have now come to really not only approve of, but kind of expect it at our water fountains. So I keep hearing more and more positive feedback on all of the water fountains that we have with the bottle fillers and how cool they are, and we couldn't agree more. So this is an effort to continue that. With that, what we're asking you to do tonight is we're recommending that you approve the plans and specs and authorize staff to advertise for the bids for the construction of the Veterans Memorial Park project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah. Joe, about the furniture that's, the photos that you have there of several different colors, are they going to be compatible colors? Are they going to be the same colors? Are they going to be consistent?
I think that's a better question for our landscape architect.
Hello. I think it's on.
All of them will be EK,
natural stain. That one on the second from the left is just an example of the handicap accessible, but they'll all be the color on the left, which is the Ipe 4x4 wood timber.
Thank you.
And then the metal pieces will be black. And we're going to use the version that is movable. They're so heavy, I don't think people will be moving them easily, so we don't have to adhere them to the concrete.
Thank you.
Sure.
I know I'm overstepping the park boundaries just a little bit, but we had discussed also when you pull down the off-ramp into town, that one section that's part of Caltrans, is that still going to be cleaned up and allow for a better transition into the park? Because there is that walkway there too, that's right next to the stop sign.
I think we plan on cleaning up our portion of that park for
Correct.
sure.
Correct.
If you notice that tree that was occupying that corner was actually occupying also part of Caltrans right away, and in discussions with them, they were very supportive of our efforts to clean that area up.
Okay,
The fence will probably remain, but we will make every effort to clean that up so that we match what we're trying to do with the park and make it a really
Understood.
grand entry and something that's more
I think
inviting.
Good.
You'll
Understood.
see, and I think this rendering actually, we're going to clean up where we can. We have to be cautious about going too far into Caltrans right away. I will share that if we want to come back at a future date, I'm sure Caltrans would let us replace the fence at our expense, but that would be at our expense. And I'm pretty confident in saying the current project budget, with all the things that we've added in the last 45 days at the council's request, I'm a little cautious that we may be pushing our limits to what the budget will support, so that may be better as a future item.
Very good. Thank you.
I have one more. Speaking of the budget, then the money that's available for the art sculpture, is that coming out of this same fund, or where is that?
Well, that is one of the initial premise is that the council has approved a budget allocation for the project. So we may be coming back to you, because I can honestly say when we put the CIP and the budget together, it did not include the commission for the art sculpture. If we do not have sufficient funding, staff will come back with a request for the funding for the commission to come out of our.
I think he's turning it up so he can hear you. So pull it closer.
So
if you
we'll
could.
just, we're going to
He
monitor
can't hear
that.
you, that's why he's trying
We're going to have to monitor the budget, and if we don't have enough for the commission, we will bring that item back.
Okay, thank you.
So I have one question regarding lighting, because even with all these wonderful drawings, I'm not sure I can find all the lighting in here. Can you give me a general sense of how much
Sure,
lighting
so-
we're going to have and what you can see at what time of day?
If you look at this drawing, you can, this print, so you can see where the lights are indicated. So we're required to have uplighting on the flags to help us manage the proper respect to the flags. Otherwise, you got to take them up and down every day. And most people just put an uplight on it, and that covers that part of the requirement to honor the flag. The park lights proper are at the ends of the rock wall. So if you look at the rock wall as you enter the park, there are 2 pole lights there. And then there's one at the entrance to the park. So three total.
One more.
There's 4.
Or
Four, I'm sorry. So there, and we have them identified there, but they're basically kind of evenly spaced out around that rock wall.
okay, so they'll be the normal size that we see.
They are,
around
yeah.
town.
And just so we are all clear, the lights that we use in parks and even in town are known as nighttime
Dark sky.
friendly lights. So they are, by definition, less intrusive. The light is designed to shine down, and anything that's above the light, at the light level or above, doesn't get splashed. So For those of us who worry about the light splash into the nighttime sky, all of the lights that we purchase here in town are nighttime friendly by design.
And these will be the same design standard as what's in front of Town Hall, what is in Vandeleur Park, and what is in Yountville Community Park. The exception here is on those, since they will flank the plaza, that's why we've added the banner arms with the banners, because it will give a little presence to the plaza. So that'll be the unique difference in this setup.
So overall, there'll be more light there when this renovation is complete than there is now, so,
That's correct.
all right,
That's
great.
correct.
Any other questions from council? Okay, now I'd like to open for public comment. Does anybody in the public like to make a comment? Seeing none, bring it back to council for discussion and a decision on the resolution. Any discussion?
I'll say one thing. I know the mayor was very, very much in support of making sure it was veterans oriented, and it definitely is. So thank you.
You bet.
I want to congratulate Lori. I think it's a beautiful design, and I'm very happy that it will pay tribute to the veterans. So I think that it's going to be a wonderful addition and upgrade of that park.
And just to add on that, I couldn't agree more. We always had the name there, but you really had to look to find out why it was called Veterans Park. And I think now we've really done it justice, and I think it's going to be very exciting. And just all the teamwork and the time that's gone into this. I know sometimes it seems like a painful process going through it, but I think it really gave us a fabulous design. So congratulations. We look forward to work starting after Yountville Days.
That's
Approximately
Before you get
when?
ahead of yourself, you need
We need
to, you need to vote.
Yes.
I know,
And
just,
let us go. And then if everything goes well, on September 20th, you'll be approving the award of bid, and then we will start construction, which will be a fall construction, and we'll see when in November, December, we're able to reopen.
okay, great. Thanks
Thank you
to
very
everybody.
much.
So,
On that note, I would like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 16-3361, approving and adopting plans and specifications and authorizing staff to advertise for construction bids for Veterans Memorial Park renovations project, PK-0015.
A second.
all in favor?
Aye. Enthusiastic.
Approved unanimously. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cagwin, for all of your efforts. We're really excited about this project, so
Please.
please.
When I first moved to Yountville almost 20 years ago, I saw the Veterans Home and thought, wouldn't it be great if we honored the vets more than had been done in the past in our town? So I'm happy that I was involved in this park and this way of honoring them even more. So thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done and you're going to be doing. Okay, staff informational reports. We have one on the 2016 Yountville Days.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is a little bit of a change. In the past, we brought resolution forward to approve the street closure, but it actually isn't required as part of our municipal code. So instead of excuse me, just not bringing that forward, I wanted to come forward with the staff informational report. Excuse me, and of course, that happens right when I have to speak. So the parade and festival, again, this year is Sunday, October 2nd, as you saw in the staff report, and we will continue with the same route and setup as we have the past 2 years, which has been successful with the parade lineup on South Washington Street and traveling up Washington Street. We are working with some of our area agencies to further promote it as a full weekend of activities. So we have our Friday night movie in the park. Saturday is the car show at an Oktoberfest at the Napa Valley Museum. Saturday night is a patriotic concert at the Lincoln Theater, and then Sunday is the parade and festival. So we're working with those agencies to promote as a package Yountville Days weekend. We look forward to releasing our parade theme in Grand Marshal next week. And of course, encourage everybody and anybody who's interested in being in a parade. There is no charge to enter into the parade, whether it's a float or otherwise. We accept walking groups as well. And the festival will kick off at 11 and go till 3 with live music and food. Most of our area nonprofits will be there to run the food booths as a fundraiser for themselves, as well as kids games and activities. So we should have a terrific event again this year, and next year will actually be our 40th Yountville Days Parade and Festival.
Wow,
so that'll be an
exciting.
exciting year. So it's year 39. And if anyone has any questions, they can always call the Parks and Recreation Department. And as normal, we do send out notifications to all of our area businesses and residents who are affected by the parade or any of the street closures 14 days in advance. And then again, we walk around 3 days in advance. So we're in communication with them. And as you remember, we moved the parade time and route a little bit 2 years ago as a response to our businesses and our visitors having a difficult time at checkout, so to make sure everybody got on board, and that's been very successful. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
I don't have a question about that, but I do have a question about our upcoming birthday party. Would you mind?
So the Residence Bash is on Friday, August 19th at the Community Center. It starts at 6 o'clock. We are asking residents to sign up through the Parks and Recreation Department. It's just $10. Helps to offset a little bit of the cost, but we look forward to having many of our tasting rooms represented, pouring tastes, as well as many of our restaurants with small bites. It'll be just as festive as last year, just maybe a little bit scaled down, not quite as fancy, but we are excited to have the Jay Silverheels band back, because that was people really love that, and that was super fun to see all the residents dancing, as well as a photo booth and some other fun things, surprises mixed in. So we're just at about 250 as of right now. So and we'll have some advertisements running in the Yountville Sun reminding residents to sign up.
We do want to remind you to please sign up if
Yes.
you want to come.
Yes,
Thank
please.
And even if it's only half as good as it was last year, it was such
Yeah.
a fabulous event. I think
It'll be more than half as good. It's just
okay, more than
some of
half
the
as good.
fancy furniture and stuff
It
we
was
won't have, but
overwhelmingly fun. So there'll still be, I think,
it's going to be
a
great.
lot of fun stuff to do. So it was quite remarkable job you did last year. So everyone's really looking forward to it again.
Yeah, it's
so.
going to be super fun. So, thank you.
Okay, council meeting reports, comments, agenda items. Do we have a report from the Napa County Flood Control?
Yes. So the Napa County Flood Control Committee met today, and we approved going in with the Napa Reclamation, Napa River Reclamation District. So the county will go in half and half to do a study to find out what can be done on Milton Road. And Milton Road is in the south part of Napa, and there are levees all along there. It's all along the western side of the Napa River. And some of those levees date back into the 1800s, so they really need to look at what they need to do to shore them up. People who have built their homes along there have built their decks and things on top of the levee that protects them from on the east side, and then there are levees as well on the west side. So they need to do a study and see exactly the scope of the work that has to be done. So that was approved today, and that will be taking place.
Thank you for that report. Just something real brief. I attended the Napa Valley Transportation Authority, and at the last meeting, we approved TransDev. They will be hired. We have a 5-year contract for at least about $45 million to run the transit system as well as maintenance. And there was also an audit, and one of the audits of the organization said that we need a maintenance plan. So I think maybe that will help our trolley out a little bit in terms of some of the problems we're having. Can we get the town manager just to give us a little update on the trolley? I know I got on it recently, and it was the white bus pulled
All I can say is
up.
that we regularly communicate with Napa Valley Transportation Authority as to the challenges our ridership face with the
I'm not sure if people can
the
hear
lack
you.
of, what's the word I want to use? The trolley's out of service more than it's in, so we need to be working with that. And also, we're trying to make sure that when they use the white backup bus, that they put the trolley label on it so that visitors and residents will know to look for it.
All right, thank you for that. League of California Cities North Bay Division meeting.
Okay, we met last Wednesday evening, and we met in Napa. And first, we had a tour of the homeless shelter at not 945 Hartle Court, but it was in that general area. I don't have the exact address where the homeless shelter was, but we toured that with Nancy Weiss and Linda Powers, the Shelter Services Community Action Director. And it was, they have 64 beds in there, and they are all occupied, and it was quite interesting. There are both men and women staying there, and unfortunately, there's a long list of people hoping to get in. And so it was a very worthwhile presentation that we had. And then we had a business meeting in which we elected the new officers for our division. And our mayor, John Dunbar, was elected as state board director of our division. And second vice president was from Vallejo, Pippin Du Costa. So those were the new officers elected at the dinner.
Thank you for that great report. Any other reports or announcements before we meet again in late September? Anybody has? Town manager?
Just want to remind you that you'll be adjourning to a special joint council arts commission meeting on Tuesday, August 16th.
At 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Thank you. When we have no closed session, is that true, town attorney? All right, that's we're
I like you already.
we're happy with that. So, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn to our next joint meeting with the Arts Commission on Tuesday, August 16th.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.